Madden NFL 26 is here. If you've enjoyed Madden games since Madden 19, you'll probably enjoy this game. If you've hated Madden games since Madden 19, you probably will not enjoy this game. There are some new additions that I genuinely like. The heavy snow weather option, which we'll get into more, is visually impressive and something new. Juke moves are more effective and look nice, and player speed has been drastically improved from Madden 25, resulting in gameplay that feels more fluid and fun with the ball in your hands. For the first time since the extra point in Madden 10 and 11, EA has added a weekly recap show. There are finally different broadcast packages for Thursday, Sunday, and Monday night matchups, and the soundtrack actually has good variety. A lot of features we've been asking EA to add over the years are now present. But how well are they executed? EA markets these additions very well. I would say marketing is what EA does best. But at the end of the day, this game is essentially the same game we've all been playing for years with some subtle tweaks. None of these additions are huge or make the game feel significantly fresh. It's still incredibly buggy, as you can see here, where a user starts one game, hits halftime, and somehow enters the second half of an entirely different matchup. This only scratches the surface of the game's lack of polish, which we'll get into. Gameplay is still driven by animations playing out, rather than by an underlying true physics model, which is a design choice that leads to less user control compared to the PS2 Maddens in the old 2K football games. But it does at least offer more animation variety and more accurate foot planting. We'll discuss the pros and cons of this design choice in more depth, but this has been the case with every single Madden since the jump to the 360 era with Madden 06, and it's a major reason why the game feels so repetitive year after year. Madden NFL 26 is a game that checks off boxes, but without much thought. Minor tweaks make this a better game than last year, and I could see an argument that this might be the best Madden of the 2020s. But I personally haven't enjoyed a single Madden title from the 2020s, so what is that really worth? Do baby steps justify a $70 price tag, or $100 if you wanted early access? Does it seem like Madden is finally getting on track towards being special again, or is this yet another year of the same old song and dance? Let's dive in. When you first open the game, you get a sobering reminder that sports gaming has changed drastically over the years. Before you can access the main menu and hop into a game, you are forced to go through the usual options for your favorite team and difficulty, which is fine, but then you get an Ultimate Team ad. After closing the ad, you still aren't at the main menu. Now you get a screen talking about an NFL Team Pass. The Battle Pass system has infiltrated every single video game at this point, even fully priced ones like Madden. Next, the game makes you choose your team for your pass, and then it has the Premium Pass, which you have to pay money for, auto-selected. You have to manually select Free Pass. A prompt asks if you're sure, and then you see your Team Pass progress. And then some premium rewards are showed to you to pressure you into getting that Premium Pass. And only after all that can you see the main menu and start playing. It defaults to Ultimate Team, of course, a game mode where you spend real money on player packs, as the pre-selected game mode here. This is really strange to me. Why force the player to have to carefully navigate all of these options that most casual players won't touch or care about? I miss when Madden asked for your favorite team and jumped right into the main menu. This feels not only tedious, but predatory, as it's clearly trying to get the player to drop more money on the game by auto-selecting the Premium Pass. This isn't by any means the biggest issue with the game, but it is a significant issue regardless, and it's evidence that EA is trying to condition younger players into thinking this sort of thing is normal. To me, this cheapens the game and makes me feel like I just spent $70 on a free mobile title. I'd imagine most Madden players do not care about this Team Pass at all. The main menu is very similar to last year's. It's fine, I guess, but I do miss the vintage Madden menus. Those were cool. Gameplay suffers from the same issue as always. It's too reliant on animations. Thanks to a recent interview I had with Ian Cummings here on this channel, who worked on Madden during the PS2 and PS3 era, I can more accurately describe what the problem is without making any assumptions. On the PS2 Maddens, as well as the 2K football games, and even titles like Sunday Rivals, or Backbreaker, or the 2012 NFL Blitz downloadable only reboot, when you move your left stick, you weren't actually controlling the player model. you were controlling the circle under the player. This circle was the underlying physics engine. It had rules it had to follow, and it was programmed to have realistic stamina and movement abilities. The player model was an illusion built on top, and animations don't carry the player down the field. They were instead running in place while the circle was what was actually moving. In modern Madden titles, and even other sports games like NBA 2K, there is no underlying physics model underneath the player model that a user can control. Instead, the actual player model itself is what you control. While this means you're literally in control of your player's feet, resulting in less sliding and more realistic looking animations compared to those older football games, without the underlying physics model built into the circle under the player model doesn't have to follow the laws of physics. If an animation pulls him one way, he's going that way, and the user has no control over this. This over-reliance on animations is what leads to the scripted, repetitive feeling that's been present in gameplay for so long. Defensive players get caught in a stumble animation from the slightest touch, which has to play out fully before they regain control and can pursue the ball carrier. When you run by a player, usually you get around them because they are stuck in an animation. This is also why you get sucked into animations when you feel like you should have been able to run by someone. This is also why drags, ins, and out routes are so effective year after year. Defensive backs simply can't follow a receiver on their break animation, as it accelerates the receiver at an unrealistic rate. Being successful in Madden is less about throwing with anticipation and more about hitting receivers when defenders have a delayed reaction due to an animation playing out. If the circle under the player had a physics model that was prioritized over the animations, this would not be an issue, as receivers wouldn't get a speed boost on a cut, and defenders wouldn't have to finish their change of direction animation before they could run with their man. With that being said, at least player speed is faster than last year, which helps create a better illusion of user control. The bounciness of boom tech is toned down, and juke moves are more fun and effective than usual. The run game is more fun as you shoot out of a cannon on handoffs with top guys in a way that feels close to College Football 25. But the animation-heavy gameplay results in a game that not only feels repetitive, but also out of your control overall. You can perform an effective double juke, and Saquon's backwards hurdle is an animation you can also trigger, although it was added in an update last year as well. Quarterbacks even have more authentic animations, which makes the game feel more authentic and realistic when throwing, although the same usual ball trajectory issues are present. You can't drop a pass in a bucket like you could in All Pro Football 2K8. Regardless, new animations help the game look more authentic, but the lack of an underlying physics model makes the game play the same as it always has at its core. So once the new factor of these animations wear off, the game gets stale. Blocking AI still seems really bad, and you'll notice the same flaws as usual. I think it's a little better when running the football, but it's still not great. You might see some occasional smart blocking upfield, but you'll also see the same issue of blockers getting caught in animations, unable to engage in time. You can once again juke in the backfield as a quarterback, something that was in Madden 20, but this is a good addition. However, it adds an extra button for using Playmaker, and quarterbacks often get sucked into dropback animations that the user can't run out of. This is worst on screen plays. You can't hike the ball and take off on plays with a scripted dropback, which is frustrating when a pass rusher gets to you instantly. With the reach for it mechanic tied to the right stick, trucking is now difficult to pull off, which is annoying as someone who loves to truck. Playbooks are improved now with double motions. One of the best things modern Madden has going for it that these older games like 2K5 don't is modern playbooks. However, I wish we had creative play. I'll get more into that when going over franchise mode. And some plays never work because routes are too close together, and your teammates end up picking the main target so the ball gets overthrown. It's a common issue. Overall, I think gameplay is the #1 issue with Madden, and it needs to be rebuilt from scratch with a proper physics engine running underneath the player. With modern tech and the size of EA's team, they should be able to fix this and avoid obvious foot sliding within 2 years. This is the quickest and most realistic way they can drastically improve gameplay and make the game feel different for once. Adding more animations each year won't fix the underlying physics issue, and the player AI and slider tweaks can only do so much when pursuit and user control is delayed by animations. Franchise mode is somewhat improved, I guess, but when marketing before release dubbed this as the biggest update to franchise mode in over a decade, you'll probably be disappointed if you let that raise your expectations. Franchise mode really hasn't been good since Madden 12, and even that game didn't compare to franchise mode on the PS2 era titles. Let's look at the positives first. We finally get proper terminology for positions. We no longer need to move ends to defensive tackles or outside linebackers to ends. Now we get proper edge positions and Mike, Will, and Sam linebackers. We also get a true long snapper position, so no more of those 38 overall tight ends. I'm not sure why this took so long, but it does help the franchise experience immensely by having proper positions. The new play sheets feature is really just a streamlined version of staff upgrades that we've already had. And as I'll get into in the presentation section, adding custom scoreboards and theme songs for Thursday, Sunday, and Monday night primetime games helps the mode a lot and is something I've been asking EA to add for years. It helps you understand the stakes of the matchup in your fictional NFL universe. You can create lore in your head, like that your generated quarterback you drafted always loses on Monday nights. It's subtle, but I enjoy this sort of thing. The other addition of note is the weekly recap show, which you can play in the franchise home screen or it shows at halftime during games. This is something I've been asking for since I first saw a weekly recap show in ESPN NFL 2K5. For years, EA seemed like they couldn't do it. Now it's here. Sadly, the execution is terrible. Let me show you an example.
Hi everyone, Scott Hansen with you, and this is the EA Sports Weekly Recap. Lots to get to. Let's start in SoFi Stadium. The Chargers at home to take on the New England Patriots. And it's Justin Herbert, one of his 2 rushing touchdowns on the afternoon. The Chargers take care of business. The number 2 seed will get another home game in the divisional round. From there, let's go up to the Motor City. Let's look in on the Lions at home to take on Washington. And this is Chris Rodriguez. Spots an opening, capitalizes on it, 15 yards for the touchdown. The Commanders pull off the big upset. The wild card knocks off the division champ. They're moving on to the divisional round. Lastly, let's head to Buffalo. The Bills hosting the Denver Broncos. And it's Josh Allen, one of his 4 touchdown passes on the afternoon. The Bills are moving on. The number 3 seed takes care of business in front of their home fans. One round is complete. We're down to 8 teams remaining with a chance to lift the Vince Lombardi Trophy. I'm Scott Hansen.
That is what you see every week. 3 highlights with the final score and the stats of 2 players. While this is new for Madden, I can't help but feel let down. In 2004, 2K had a show just like this using SportsCenter branding. And not only did it show multiple highlights from games you didn't play, but it also showed free agent pickups, injured players, trades, draft prospects, and Player of the Week awards. It also showed complete stats from every single game, with the top 3 performers of each team listed. There were special broadcasts for the Combine, free agency, post-draft with Mel Kiper, and the last recap of the regular season would show seasonal awards like MVP and Rookie of the Year. Over 20 years later, all EA can add is 3 highlights with limited stats with robotic commentary from Scott Hansen, who I actually really enjoy on NFL Red Zone. I don't understand why there aren't scores from around the league included here. Also of note, this recap is shown for the exact week, not the previous week like in 2K5. This means if you watch the recap before playing your game, which you can do, you'll see highlights of games that haven't even been played yet. You can force a loss for the winning team and make the highlights fictional. The highlights are also pre-canned templates, so you'll see the same ones repeat over time, just with different players and teams. To be fair, 2K5 also did this, but that was in 2004. I remember Rex Dixon claiming years ago that they didn't want to add this feature until the tech was there to avoid using pre-canned clips. Yet here we are in 2025, and the feature uses pre-canned clips. while missing everything else 2K did with their show, or even what EA did with the Extra Point show. Regardless, this is a feature I hope EA fleshes out more over the years, not remove. I'd love to see highlights from my friends' games in an online franchise, for example. And I do prefer this to whatever the hell Jonathan Coachman was doing at halftime previously. I'm just disappointed it took EA over 20 years to add this, only for it to still be very far behind what 2K did in 04. It's 2025, make it make sense. A feature I wish we had in franchise mode is Create a Play. It was in the first ever Madden, John Madden Football. It was in Madden NFL 04. Why has it been gone for over a decade now? I can understand the argument that it would be broken online, sure. So the obvious solution is to make it an option in franchise mode that you can toggle on or off. That way offline players can have fun with it, and online franchises can too if the commissioner chooses to enable it. You could also have a special mode in Ultimate Team or online head-to-head where you can use custom-made playbooks using custom plays and separate it from the main online formats. Being able to draw up custom routes and pre-snap motions with modern formations and rules would be awesome. If you're playing franchise mode as a coach, which is now the only option because they removed owner's mode, why not let the user do what a coach actually does, which is draw up plays? There's no eras mode like there is in NBA 2K, so there's nothing historic. You can't go back in time in franchise mode in Madden. Team relocation still uses terrible presets. Team Builder is back at least, but it's not built into the game like the old Create a Team. It requires a computer and a web browser to use before importing into the game. I used a Team Builder team, and despite replacing the New York Giants with my team based in Miami, the game's commentary says, "Touchdown Chicago" when I score. Listen to this.
And he takes this in. Touchdown Chicago!
They also call my quarterback, JJ McCarthy, McConkey, as in Lad McConkey. Something about Team Builder seems to glitch the commentary. I wish we could upgrade our stadium with a stadium builder, like, in PS2 games, and change our uniforms and branding in-game rather than with Team Builder, which only works when you first start a franchise, not when relocating, by the way. Wear and tear is added, although unlike in college football, it doesn't show up during play calling, making it easy to forget about. Travis Hunter doesn't get stats tracked as a receiver. Ooh. The game can only track one position per player, it seems, so his defensive stats are counted, but not his receiving stats, no matter how many touchdowns you throw his way. That's disappointing for such a popular rookie player. Playbooks still hold more of a say than anything else over success when simming. Simulated stats make no sense anyways. Creating a coach does provide more options, which is nice, but it's weird that we only see that now. The draft and scouting are the same as always, and pretty terrible. The draft UI in NFL 2K5 lets you quickly switch between your roster breakdown, your scouted players, previously drafted players, suggested picks, and the draft pool. In Madden, you have to back in and out of the draft to view your roster, and you can't even see previously drafted players from previous rounds. I hate the current scouting system. You might as well set it to auto. I also miss the adjust lineup screen being a tab away like it was in previous Maddens. Burying it in a menu makes it more tedious to quickly view your lineup. Owner's mode is now gone as well. Franchise is only for creating a coach, even though you can't draw up a play. Ian Cummings, who created Owner's mode back in Madden 04, would be very disappointed. But the worst part of franchise mode to me isn't even the lack of depth. It's the overall UI experience. Look at upgrading players in real time. You click a guy. You wait for a loading screen. You upgrade him. Watch an animation play out. You back out. Wait for a loading screen. Repeat for every player every week. It's too slow to do these simple actions. It makes me want to turn on auto upgrading. This has been an issue for years, and it seems to get worse each year. Also in franchise, player faces are the same as always for generated rookies. They haven't carried over college football's system yet. If you normally enjoy franchise mode in Madden somehow, and you've actually liked it the last few years, I guess you'll enjoy this. But if you're like me and have felt let down for years, and you're looking for something that feels genuinely new, Madden 26 does not move the needle much at all. It adds some nice things, but most of these additions are half-baked at best, and the core mode is still a poorly optimized, lacking experience. Superstar mode is actually better than usual for whatever that's worth. Still, you can only choose between the same 5 positions. There's no tight end, there's no safety, there's no defensive lineman, and worst of all, no punter. In older Maddens on the PS2 and PS3, you could be these positions. Maybe I want to be a specials team star like Matthew Slater. That's never been possible. The mode starts with the combine after you create your guy. You can import a player from college football, so the mode doesn't include college games or anything like that before the combine. Rich Eisen narrates cutscenes, which is a cool touch. I like Rich Eisen. This year, the mode feels more like 2K's My Career than ever. It's not as deep, but it's similar. It even has microtransactions. Combine drills are fun, although if you start a career as a quarterback, a lot of these drills are bugged and impossible to complete. Even though I had a rough showing, I was still a second-round pick. I went to the Browns, and the draft cutscene is easy to accidentally skip, as it appears like a video and not the literal draft itself. And then you're in the big league. I like how you aren't forced to partake in a terrible story mode and it gets right to the point. It's basically Road to Glory in college football, but for the NFL, and minus things like balancing academics. Managing wear and tear, practicing, and trying to complete quests and goals to build connections with your coaches and trainers is the name of the game. It's pretty bare bones, but again, it's better than usual. The next step would be to add every position and create more dynamic scenarios per position that play out many years in. It would be cool if you had something like the crib in old 2K games, where you could decorate your house as you earn a salary and view your trophies and awards on the shelf. Maybe collect some bobbleheads. Maybe put up a Chris Berman poster. That's not a thing in Madden. It was a thing in 04 though. You can now get benched for poor play, which makes it more involved than usual. It's still very rough around the edges and far from where it should be as a career mode in a sports game, considering Superstar mode was first introduced in the 6th gen version of Madden 06, 20 years ago. But if you're okay with being one of only 5 positions, and you're really just looking for a great value offline version of My Career, you might enjoy killing time here. I miss Draft Champions, man. It's gone. You can't draft a team and play fair online games anymore. That was one of my go-to modes to play with friends. If you accidentally click one of the many in-game ads for Ultimate Team, you get to play this mode, where you spend real money on packs for a chance of unpacking a good player, then you hop online and get smoked by someone who paid more than you for their team, all in a $70 video game. I don't recommend this mode at all, but I would recommend Draft Champions, later called Mutt Draft, if it ever returned. If you want a more in-depth review of Ultimate Team, there are other creators who will cover more than I will. I'd rather deflect attention away from modes like this because by principle, they shouldn't exist in a fully priced video game. Superstar KO still exists, which is fine as a quick time waster with friends. And in recent years, they added back mini-games, which is something I enjoy. Specifically, the 2-minute drill is something I enjoy, a feature I loved in the PS2 games, but it's bugged. It has an issue where players are pulled forward. This causes some plays with motions to be impossible to run, as the man in motion will go off sides every play over and over and get a false start before the snap. I do like Big Head mode in practice. The players look funny. It's cool. There are no historic game modes like a Madden Moments type mode, or even classic or all-time teams, which is a bummer as usual. As I mentioned in the franchise mode section, you now get Thursday, Sunday, and Monday night presentation. Each primetime game gets a unique theme song, scoreboard, and they switch up the commentary teams, which are the same as last year. There is also a new scoreboard for regular non-primetime games as well. You may find it odd that these games show TNP or SNP. This is probably because of licensing, where they'd need NBC rights to use SNF. The P is a little jarring at first, but I would much rather have it like that than just one scoreboard for every game like we usually get in Madden. The cuts to the crowd are back. These were in Madden 21 on PS5, but then removed shortly after. I guess I'm glad they're back, but they're just as ugly. The new snow options for weather are cool. The heavy snow option looks unlike anything you've ever seen in a football video game. I genuinely like this addition, even if it's more of a visual change rather than something with a ton of impact on gameplay. That said, there should be a slider for weather, like we had in PS2 Maddens, so we can adjust the exact amount of precipitation and temperature, rather than choosing either heavy or light snow. Player models look bad. They look flat out bad. It gets more noticeable every year. While graphics look good in terms of lighting, players have no necks and simply look awkward when compared side by side to their real life counterparts. I'd love to see player models get remade from scratch ASAP. Celebrations are now like they are in college football, where you get a ton of options based on your button input after a score. I'm a fan of this. Some players like Saquon do signature celebration moves, like his head tap on a long run. There are cool details like that sprinkled in the game, but they are hard to appreciate when the game has such a lack of attention to detail everywhere else. The soundtrack is actually really good for once, full of bangers across genres and eras. I love it. It's a serious highlight. Compared to Madden 16, for example, the overall game's presentation just doesn't feel as authentic to a real NFL broadcast. The new packages are nice for variety, but commentary is awkward and dull regardless of team, it's delayed, and the transitions on screen are just awkward compared to a game like Madden 16. I'm not that impressed, as I still play NFL 2K5 regularly on stream, and that game does presentation way better. Madden does now have authentic team intros, similar to college football, which does add to the presentation, and I will give them credit for the work they put in there to keep those authentic, but overall, presentation is not a strength. As usual, this game is extremely buggy. It's getting really old really quickly, when every Madden since 19 is a poorly polished mess. As I mentioned with franchise, menu navigation for upgrading players, or even just editing rosters, is terribly slow. A ton of glitches have been reported. One guy started a game, went to halftime, and then appeared in a completely different matchup with different teams. Bordeaux ran into a common glitch where you can't snap the football. Unfortunately, he faced this glitch in the Super Bowl as time expired and lost. The weekly recap show will show games played at night during the daytime. Sometimes players will gather downfield before a snap, completely off sides for no reason. Sometimes your team will put your defense in at offense. In the 2-minute drill, my guy in motion went off sides every play. I'm sure more and more bugs will appear as more and more people play the game, and most will not be fixed with patches because most of these bugs have been present for years. It's getting tiring at this point. I'm tired of talking about it. Every year it's the same song and dance. There is a rumor reported by a reliable source, Insider Gaming's Mike Straw, that claims EA approached the NFL asking to save money by giving up exclusive rights. The NFL said no. As much as we want to blame EA for signing this deal in the first place, killing off their competition in games like NFL 2K Fever and Game Day, it was always the NFL's choice first. EA was always the highest bidder too. Hearing that EA offered to go non-exclusive, but the NFL said no, is crazy to me. The NFL's main reason for going exclusive was to protect their brand image. Yet EA's terrible Maddens over the years are literally hurting their brand image. If it's just about money, I have an idea. The NFL should charge EA the same amount they would for an exclusive license, yet make it non-exclusive. EA has to agree regardless. They won't say no and make an unlicensed EA Sports Pro Football game that won't work like it works with FIFA. They won't quit making Madden either. The NFL has all the power here in negotiations. Ask for the same amount as usual and make it non-exclusive. If EA acts like they won't sign, they're bluffing. They will. A non-exclusive license would create such positive PR for the NFL and take some pressure and heat off of EA. However, Mike Straw said a renewal of the exclusive license is all but final. But nothing is official yet. We're probably cooked, but I'll still hold out a little hope until it's no longer possible. You could say that EA is polishing a turd by adding some fluff on top of a broken core, but the game isn't polished in the slightest, so I guess it's just a turd. A slightly more appealing one compared to last year. Around Black Friday, it might be worth getting half off after patches have fixed some bugs if you haven't played Madden in a while. But even then, if you felt jaded by Madden's lack of evolution over the years, specifically with gameplay and franchise mode, you'll get bored of 26 fast. If you enjoyed Madden 24 and 25, you mostly play online, and or the idea of a Madden 25 with faster jukes and quicker gameplay sounds great to you, then you're the target audience here, and it could be worth buying just for that. But for most people following my channel, I would not recommend it. The game needs to be rebuilt from scratch. There are too many legacy issues and oversights present. Adding new features on top of a broken core doesn't fix the broken core, especially when these additions are mostly half-baked. Unfortunately, EA is still trying to catch up to the past. ESPN NFL 2K5 cannot be put to rest yet, as insane as that sounds. I'll give Madden 26 a 3.5 out of 10. I gave College Football 26 a 4 out of 10, and I do think it feels more alive than Madden, and despite its lack of polish, it somehow feels more solidly built too, despite not being a very good game in my opinion, although a recent patch has improved it. I can be pleased. A good EA Sports football game to me would have snappy polished menus, more accurate player models and equipment, a well thought out and deep franchise and superstar mode, presentation that surpasses 2K5 and puts it to rest, historic game modes, and true physics-based gameplay as described earlier. That sounds like the most realistic path for EA to make a new game that would feel fun and fresh, but I understand that that is subjective. I hope you guys found this review useful and informative. The final score is a 3.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching.